Hello and welcome. This is a video. It's your intro video to like the history and the birth of Hatha Yoga, and actually the five different branches leading to what today modern yogis consider like the five main branches. So I'm Erica Garcia Abigail. I'm the owner and the director of teacher training at the Nueva Alma Institute here in Puerto Rico, as well as online. And in this program, I serve as your lead trainer and mentor as you begin this transformational journey. So before we step into like the poses and sequencing and teaching methods, I think it's really important that we ask ourselves, you know, what is yoga? What is it really? Because there's a lot of different ideas, misconceptions, perceptions, and most people imagine yoga as just a set of postures or perhaps breathing techniques or even just like a meditation technique. And it's so much more than that. And while these are valuable tools, they're only just fragments of what this whole big yoga system really is. And yoga is truly a science and a philosophy of awakening, of harmonizing, of transforming the whole self, body, mind, and spirit. And the word yoga really comes from the Sanskrit word, which is the root is yuj, Y-U-J. And that means to yoke or to unite. And in this sense, the yoga is about creating union between stillness and movement, between body and mind, between masculine and feminine, between sun and moon, ha, fa, the finite and the infinite, right? So here's a reflective question that I wanted to ask you to just begin to think. Like when you hear the word union, what does it mean to you personally? Right? Because union means yoga. So, but let's not think of yoga. Think of the word union. What does it mean to you personally? And if you took a pause to evaluate your current life, like where you are in this life, where in your life right now are you craving more harmony or more integration? Something to think about. So I'm going to give you a pause. You can even write it down. So if you have your journal, these would be some good reflection questions because I'm going to have more for you throughout this entire video. So think about those two. And then now with that framework, so to speak, now we're going to move into the five branches of yoga. So you can start seeing where you're already seeing it and you just didn't realize was yoga, right? Because this is it's beautiful to get a full understanding of yoga as a multifaceted path of just living well and whole. And with the knowing that each of you is not only yoga teachers but also forever students, you're going to notice that you'll be drawn to different branches depending on your personality, your life circumstances, and yes, your interests as we evolve through each season of our life, because it does happen. And the beauty is that so many different ones can interlap and they will speak to us when we need it the most. And these branches, remember, they're not in competition with one another. I just finished saying they weave together. And weaving together, they form this complete system of just living wisdom, living holistically, living well. So the first one that I wanted to introduce you to is Jnana Yoga, Jnana. That's the yoga of wisdom. Jnana Yoga's main focus is deep study, reflection, and self-inquiry. And the practices in Jnana Yoga is like studying sacred texts, not just the Vedas, but it can also be the Bible or Quran, whatever you're reading, contemplation, journaling, discussions, healthy sacred debates, right? And the aim is for you to dissolve the illusion and awaken yourself to what is true knowledge. So with that understanding, I would like you to reflect on a time when learning something new really changed how you saw life. And how might Jnana Yoga actually invite that same type of transformation within you over these next few months? Because we will be reading the texts, we will be having healthy discussions. And just think about how it may just really transform you, and how exciting does that also make you feel, right? So the second type of yoga I wanted to introduce to you was the yoga of meditation. That's known as Raja Yoga, Raja, Raja Yoga. And Raja Yoga focuses on the mastery of the mind and inner stillness. And a lot of you will be reading the Yoga Sutras and the Gita and all that. And those texts really help you fine tune your own meditation practices, your practices of breath work, concentration, and asana, the movement, as preparation so that you can still the mind. And so the aim of Yoga is to cultivate peace, clarity, and actually spiritual liberation, that unity where you just really feel free. So now, as you reflect on Raja Yoga, I want to ask you, what does inner peace look or feel like to you? And then, when you think about it, when was the last time you actually experienced it? Okay. So now let's go to the third branch of yoga. And I wanted to introduce this one now because it's what everybody thinks yoga is, which is the yoga of physical discipline. And that's hatha yoga. And like I just said, like many here, hatha yoga. And what you should know is that it's one of the oldest physical practice systems in all of yoga. Usually from hatha is where all the other different branches are coming from. So it's good to know what the main focus of hatha yoga is. And as a physical practice, it's the focus on purifying and balancing the body to support all of these other higher practices. In the eight limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, it's number three of the eight. So it's like climbing up. So in Hatha Yoga, one practices asana, pranayama, mudra, cleansing techniques. And overall, the aim in Hatha is really to create strength, vitality, flexibility in mind as well as body, so that you can clear the channels of the energies and really just connect with spirit. So, therefore, I want to pose to you this reflection question when it comes to Hatha, right? So, when you practice yoga postures, how do you notice your mind shifting along with your body? Have you noticed it? Have you been able to, while you're in the pose, be able to still and quiet with the breath, the mind, so you can actually just really reconnect with your body? And it's a beautiful sensation when you can do that. Okay, fourth yoga branch that I wanted to introduce to you is Karma Yoga. Karma. Everybody talks about karma, right? So Karma Yoga is the yoga of service. And we all have that general understanding of what karma is, the give and take, the consequences of your actions, that energy of what goes around comes around, right? And usually we talk about karma like, oh my God, something's going to come and get you. But how about the good side of karma, right? So the focus, obviously, of karma yoga is selfless service and compassionate action. And the main practices of someone who's devoted to karma yoga would be volunteering, serving others, daily duties that are performed with love and without the energy of anything in expectation of anything in return. It's just the action and the devotion of giving. And the main aim for the students who practice and are devoted to karma yoga is, like I said, to give, right? And it's that purification of the heart, releasing the ego, living in alignment with purpose. And many karma yoga people will often refer to seva products as projects, seva, and a seva project is often a gift of service to someone or the community at large that you either do alone or you do it as a devout group, as a project for the community. And oftentimes, even during teacher trainings, the group together will come together with one big project that they do together. So if you're in teacher training, I encourage you to really think about what you can do together, and you'll see how you make a beautiful shift. And other than what you can do in the future, I want you to take a moment and think back. Think of a moment when helping someone else unexpectedly really nourished you that day. What was the incident? What moved you to do what you did? And how did you feel afterwards? And there's one thing that I learned when I was studying Judaism in more depth. in Hebrew, the word is called mitzvot, mitzvot. And one of the things I loved about the teaching was that, in Judaism, they remind you that if you were made in the image of God, then you should be aiming to do godly things, godly acts. And in doing these good deeds, that oftentimes you're actually answering someone's prayer, and you're answering someone's, prayer for guidance or help. And that as people, we should be aiming to do good things daily, weekly, whenever we can, with no agenda of intentions of reciprocity other than the sake of doing good and being godly on earth. So I mentioned this as an example to show you that it doesn't have to actually just be a yogic thing to do good things, right? It doesn't have to be a religious thing to do good things. Just so you can see that it's all about just being good humans, because as humans, by nature, we want to take care of one another. We do want to give back. We do want a better world. So I believe karma yoga is actually a beautiful way to privately, find the way to make someone else's day much more better. So can you see how selfless service might actually be not only yogic but also beautiful spiritual practice that you could bring into your routines and bring you into more of a service minded individual as you move forward. And then the last branch of yoga that I wanted to introduce you to was number 5, which is the yoga of devotion. And that's bhakti yoga, Bhakti, bhakti. And bhakti yoga really focuses on love and devotion and pure, like, surrender to divine in whatever form it resonates with you, right? That's when you're just like giving it up. These are practices that you will often find in like workshops or at the end of class when you're doing mantra or prayer or ritual or songs, kirtan, chanting, any heartfelt offerings that you're just giving. Some people often do bhakti dance, right? The aim is of bhakti yoga is to experience such a deep connection and an emotional healing and release that you do feel that spiritual bliss. And bhakti offerings are just they're just that they just elevate your spirit. And it doesn't have to be like yogic. Sometimes just your favorite song just brings you to that beautiful sense of connection. So I want you to think about a time in your life where you experience this deep sense of love and devotion, and how might that energy fuel your yogic journey, because it does happen and we do move it forward. So that's the end of this recording. um, as far as the lesson is as the 5 branches are concerned. And now I want you to think about, okay, now let's bring yoga into the modern life. So each of these branches, as old as the teachings are, as you can see, they're unique tools for living a more awakened and balanced life that we can actually apply today, right? So Jnana Yoga will invite you to study ourselves as well as the world much more deeply, what's going on in the world. Raja Yoga will help us manage our stress. It'll help us sharpen our focus. And then Hatha Yoga supports our physical health, our energetic vitality. So we should be moving on a daily basis. We should be giving back, right? So Karma Yoga reminds us to live in today in a very compassionate and purposeful way, living with intention. And then the Bhakti Yoga in today's day will remind us that nourishing our hearts through love and devotion will always keep us on that path. So remember, these paths are not separate highways. They always intersect, they always overlap, and sometimes they will shift depending on where your life is headed, and none is better than the other. All right, so don't like kind of pit them together. None is better than the other. It's just that together as a system, they offer a full spectrum system of personal growth and spiritual awakening, which ultimately is yoga. The yoga, the union that we all seek. So my final reflection questions for you is, right now, which of these 5 branches is actually feeling the most natural to you? Or maybe the top 2, right? Because like I said, they intersect. And then on the opposite perspective, I want you to think right now, which of these feels like totally on the edge, and obviously because it's on the edge and you're resisting, could actually be an area of growth for you. So why don't you think about it? Let's talk about it. Chat in the comments. Let's talk about it the next time we speak. I would love to hear your thoughts and see exactly how you're moving forward with this different lens of perspective on the 5 branches of yoga.